7. Good to go?
I think we're good.
Oh, you're good. Good. Hello and welcome back to Drawing Blood. This is episode 14. So if you have 2 weeks and want to do it once a day, you're in luck. My name's Chris Burns, one of the animators for #Blood. With me as always is Bob to my right. He's working on Blood backgrounds right now. We have a little bit of free time here, so we can get into actually working on the game. Anyone new joining us, thanks for checking it out, and anyone from the Twitter sphere that noticed it, we thank all you guys because you made our little tweet do better than any other tweet by far. We got a lot of likes on that, a lot of reach.
By thousands.
By thousands. You can times it by thousands. So last week we ended with myself animating this little action scene we're doing in the animatic. But let me bounce back and show you what we're doing for anyone new. I'll show you the animatic we worked on. So I'm just going to open up an old file. Let's see, I believe 411 is when I finished. Let us know if the audio is too loud too. We're trying. Oh, Cody's saying it's good? Okay. Oh, okay, you can hear. We have a new soundtrack this week from one of our old web series. So I'm going to show the animatic and where we are with that. The animation's not in. Oh, let me go to an older version. Is 4.5 finished? Oh, yeah. Okay. So we'll show the whole thing in the full Monty. Tired. So this is the part we're going to be animating today. And anyone new here, this is just an animatic. This is just sort of a moving interpretation of our storyboards to sort of establish the timing and the motion and all that stuff for the intro of our game. Alright, so that's sort of the 47 to 50 second thing we're going to be, and it could end up being as long as a minute when we really get down to brass tacks. I find that I extend a lot of my animation just because the boards are so quick right now. So to get some of the animation timing right, we probably adjust. We trim and extend whenever we can. Let's see, so what I started this morning... Which version is this? 411. Close that one. I brought all this animation into a new scene, so it's not as choppy. That's the one we're going to be working on. And I even took a stab at some background stuff this morning just to see what it's going to look like with all that. And it's all embedded in one symbol here, and that's sort of what we have. Now, we're going to separate everything so we can have some multi-planing. So I'll do the back trees, the front trees, and establish some sort of depth. But right now, we're just sort of getting the animation timed out and the camera moves sort of figured out. So this is the part we're working on right now. You can see that. And I have that in a separate scene. That's the animatic. So what I did is I made the scene 2, since scene 1's the establishing shot of the moon. This will be scene 2, the characters separate, and I kind of got them in one symbol here. Now what I'll probably end up doing is grabbing the vampire on a different, that's why I have him on a different layer right here, and bringing him into its own symbol, just because we might want to adjust him on the camera moves too. But right now we're kind of doing this little fight / coordination thing where I want to establish the same timing with them. So you can see a lot of the keyframes up here, they're in, they coordinate with each other. And we'll do all the timing thusly too. So, this will be a settle like that. The vampire has a overshoot and settle, and Becky's in the air, so we're gonna keep those keyframes the same, just so it's on the same chart. Oh.
What's the general gist of Blood's story?
Oh, so we got a new guy here. Well, the idea is, and thanks for joining us. The idea is a town and a school sort of overrun with a vampiric disease, and only kind of one girl and her band of characters can save the town. So it's kind of it starts with no one being infected, and then slowly the town gets overrun. So it's a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Hunter mixed with a little bit of Zelda and all that stuff, and it sort of just takes place in this one town. And the faculty too. Yeah, because we're on the fence with whether the students can get infected, so it might be an age-related thing. But then Bob and I were talking this morning about having how the animation could be some of the cooler things is kids turning into vampires. So that's sort of it. On the faculty, yeah. Oh, Joe Whimsy Toonsy here. I have an important question. How do you do cost breakdown for a 30-second animation project with a simple design? I have a corporate client. We usually base it on who the client is, because we know certain clients are bigger than others. We have a kind of a range of prices we would do. We usually do it by minute. Now, if it's something like a commercial that's going to go on television, you could charge a lot more. If it's something that's going on the web, they kind of use that as an excuse to undercharge you. And it usually falls somewhere between that. But we break it down by minute, usually. I'm guessing this is a commercial. It's for the web. Yeah, so they're probably going to ask for a web budget. So it depends how many characters there are, what the context of the story, and a bunch of other little factors that should change the price. So I would provide them with a range of if you only have one character and it's one background, then this. But if you kind of break down the script and it's a lot more complicated stuff, then you can up the price and rationalize it that way. That's how we would do it. There's no real rhyme or reason to a lot of our things. Well, we did cereal commercials where we could charge a lot more than a whole web series. So it's this weird kind of balance you have to strike. But I would establish right away and just make a line item sheet of what you plan on charging, and then you can up it or raise it or lower depending on the complexity. So, and congratulations. That sounds like you're getting your name out there. So, I always write down brush 400%. This is Flash MX. They're interested in a retainer per month for a series of 30 seconds. So, well, not sure how to break that down. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people think they're going to make more of them, and it turns out they don't. So I would just assume that this is sort of their trial or pilot basis, and then just charge thusly. Now, if it's a lot of reuse of animation you can use later, then you could maybe, episode 2 could cost a little less, and, the more reuse, the cheaper. But I would, there's no guarantees in this industry that there's going to be a lot more than just this one 30-second thing. I think once people, get a sense of when it's on the web or whenever, they get a real sense of where the money goes. So, I was saying brush for 400%. This is Flash MX for any of you new folks who are checking us out, and it's the grandfather of Adobe Animate before Adobe bought Macromedia. And we use Adobe Animate on other projects. This one, though, our passion projects, we tend to use the stuff where we're comfortable with the drawing, and this one I find to be the most comfortable. So right now, swipes in, does an uppercut. So I'm going to start cleaning up this one. Budget they're interested in is that, how long do you think that'll take you? Because if it's more than a week, it's as simple as assuming one character. It's as simple as assuming one. Yeah, that's not a tremendous rate, but it depends. Probably 2 weeks. Well, then you budget your time, what you're getting a week then, and assuming there's going to be revisions and stuff, it might not be the best price. In that case, I would charge weekly. just so that you know you have to survive on this kind of stuff too. It's not just they're gonna make it out to be like this is important to them, but you have to understand that your budget's more important because they're gonna exist with or without this cartoon, but you have to make a living. So I'm gonna make this a symbol right now and start cleaning this up. You separate your day, weekly rate from the cost per second. It depends. Again, it's project contingent. I mean, if it's going to take you 2 weeks and that's what they decide to pay you, then you say that it can't be a day over the 2 weeks and all that stuff. You just have to set boundaries for them, or they're just going to take advantage of you, especially if it's a corporate thing. Becky Temple. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is make a simple loop of this animation because she's kind of tackling this vampire into the screen and then we zoom back out. But what I do, especially when it's a more vicious kind of attack, I do this thing called a stagger. Well, I'll show you what I mean by that. Why are you in all caps? Good question.
Good question.
She's just excited. She got a gig. It's always exciting to get one. I'm in all caps over here too because I make the symbols all caps. So what I'm going to do is sort of easier to read and yes, excited. So what I'm going to do, this is my storyboard.
Especially for Grandpa Burns over here.
No, I can't. I can't read too. I need my reading spectacles. So I'm going to just do a rough of the next kind of keyframe here. And I use my boards as sort of the kind of the red line or underdrawing. And this one just gets me a little better anatomy, this version of the rough. Go like that. She's got the nose in this one. And we just released our trailer to the world. Those of you who are on our mailing list got it a week early. But it did really well. We did some good stuff on Twitter. Yeah, and Facebook too. I mean, Twitter just went crazy though. Which was sort of not shocking, but it felt good. I'm gonna draw through here. So I have shoes on this guy now. This is her cape flopping in the wind. Whenever Christmas is, yeah, I do. I always have Capital on.
That's Future Man, the other.
Oh, and that's Future Man, the programmer, the other programmer. We have two programmers on our game. The other one's Andrew Tavis, and he might be on here too. He lurks in the shadows. And same
He's
with.
got real work to do.
But he does have work that I'm not sure how much they want him to be spending time watching me Twitter. Right? Yep. There's the two programmers, Andrew Tavis and Cody Greenhouse, and we also have a writer, Greg Lane. That's all. That's our whole team for all this. Bob and I are in charge of graphics. I would argue the harder job is probably the programming, because they have to make all their graphics playable. And that's Andrew and Cody's job.
Mostly Andrew's probably.
I'd say 95% Andrew. Cody picks up the 5% slack. But don't worry, he takes most of the credit.
Somehow he walked away with the award at the end of this.
We got an award for you know, most interesting graphics or best graphics at MagFest. So naturally, the programmer took it, and on his way back to Florida, Bob and I had to drive back from Baltimore.
It's bad enough being in Baltimore.
Yeah, I would just, Joe Whimsy, I would definitely establish that though.
That's totally.
No, they might not like it, but if they need it, that's what it's going to cost, and that's, you know, that's what the animation industry is. You know, you have to figure what's your time worth, and if it's going to be 2 weeks of nonstop hassle, then you have to consider that price. And if I know this industry at all, they're going to make it over 2 weeks, because that's what they do. Let's see, so this is going to be the cleanup. I'm cleaning up at brush 4 at 400%.
I'm a friend of Greg.
Oh, there's a Greg friend. Oh, really?
Greg's got friends?
Where is, do you work with Greg, or are you just childhood friends, work buddies? What is it? Greg's great. We love Greg. So, my line's getting a little wonky here. Yeah, that's still a lot of time, though. I mean, that's 100 hours.
Got a new subscriber.
On.
Which? It's Martin Scorsese.
Oh, Martin Scorsese's back. I'm so flattered. Big admirer of his film library. What did he say? I worked with him on and off.
Weirder stuff.
I've seen some of his weirder stuff. All right. So these bigger kind of drawings was close to it. I voiced the chicken. I'm not sure if I know what that means. Did you do a game with him? You're welcome to share the game site if you are. Any of you are welcome to share any of your work here. I'm happy to see stuff. Cody knows what he's talking about. Perhaps you can indulge us.
Cody loves chickens.
There, I might add a shadow under her head. I'm not sure yet. It's weird seeing Becky this close up. I'm so used to the sprites. Art Interactive. You want to? I can't click on that, or I can, but I might short circuit everything.
Oh, is this one of his games? I don't know. Is this the one in the?
Was this the one at MagFest?
No, the point. No, that one.
Oh yeah, I recall this. Sorry, I'm looking over at Bob's screen. Right.
It was like started in.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
So that's your voice. Was it part of Tin Heart Interactive?
That one was, yeah.
How long did that take to make? I'm sizing us up because we got called out yesterday for taking too long. I didn't know we were on a time limit. I had no idea. We were on the clock. So he has shoulder pads that I forgot to add, so I'm going to add them here. basically that then. Oh, really? Well, we are slow, I guess.
We lose.
Yep. That's pretty impressive. The whole just a weekend. I feel like I couldn't get anything done in a weekend. Animation is a slow boat. Oh, there. Yeah, I hear some people cheering outside or something. All right. And Cody, if you want to bring up the YouTube link to the trailer, if any of you haven't seen it, we could show you the YouTube or I guess the Twitter one. I don't know which one. Any of them. You can get a sense of what we've been working on all this time. Oh, Bob's got it.
Yes. Why do you use this old program?
Why do you use this old? I use it. Talking to Progy Games. I use it because I came in up in the industry early 2000s, 1999, early 2000s, around then. And Flash MX was what I kind of cut my teeth on. So I got so accustomed to drawing in it that when Adobe bought over Macromedia, they changed a lot of the settings to they thought to make it better. In my opinion, not so much. So I do it because I'm faster in this program than others, and I think it draws better too.
A lot better.
I haven't found many people that disagree with that either. In terms of drawing better. Now you could do more stuff, I guess, in Animate, but there also hasn't been any project that we haven't been able to tackle in MX. It really is just a tool, in my opinion. So, just use the tool you're most comfortable with. Let's see here.
Hold you old program.
Oh, it isn't. Nah, that's gonna look weird. I'm gonna do the teeth here.
But we honestly couldn't do this in animated.
No, we couldn't. I couldn't. I showed an animatic earlier, and there's not a. I couldn't have done the animatic in Animate because you need to break the files get so big, and I don't know why. It's the same exact stuff. I don't know if they're just saving stuff it doesn't need to save.
It's optimizing.
It's optimized, yeah. Well, just not for us. Though we just finished a project where we needed to use it, so it's still in our arsenal of stuff we can use with. Okay, so that's a symbol now. So what I would do is make an extreme of that, like for a stagger. So it would just be a very close in between to that, and then I will in between that a few times, and then stagger the frame. So it'd be a straight in between from frame 1 to 5. Then it would go frames 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, and then you can reverse it, and then you get this kind of jagged thing. And it works really good in action. You'll notice a lot of action movies, they kind of shake the camera a lot more for effect. It gives it a little more manic feel, and that's sort of what I'll do for this one. So I'll show you an extreme here of what I would do. So just go to frame 5. Do something rough. Now, yeah, I have to kind of keep in mind that the force of this, like what's happening in this scene. So she kind of tackles this guy or spears him. So naturally her force is getting pushed this way. So I'll make the extreme go that way too, where her head will go forward. Change the brush on this. Maybe her brows go down, tilt her head a little bit. frame by frame can you do per day? It depends on the style, really, too. If it's 12 frames a second, you know, I always underestimate that or overestimate what I can do, though, too. Like, I'd be like, oh, it's just a couple seconds of animation, I could do that, and sometimes it takes more than a day to do a couple seconds. Like, for example, last week, I'm going to erase one of these teeth marks, by the way. I think I'm just going to go 2 teeth. Like that, I think. It'll look better. You know, last week I dedicated 2 hours to blood, and I didn't even get a second done. Now, if I times it by 8, or times that by 4, then it's one thing, but it's just not all. And these aren't even fully in between yet, so. At its simplest. Yeah, it's hard to really gauge Joe Whimsy without a style frame in front of me. But, I mean, it's also what my speed is doesn't necessarily mean much to other jobs.
Doing it too for
Yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years too, so I might be faster, or, you know, not necessarily. I could be slower too. Yeah, if they're set on the price, though, you just have to understand that that's the price, and then you just have to make it work for you if you're so inclined to take it. So if that's what they want to charge, then say, well, then this is how long it's going to take, and this is the amount of revisions I demand, and stuff like that. Because they'll hold your foot to the flame if you give them unlimited kind of revisions and all that stuff. Let's see here. So I'm pushing her this way. Now, his back's going to go out, but that doesn't necessarily mean his front will go towards this way. So this might get pulled back that way, just to make it look like I'm more extreme. So we're going to push the force of his hand out this way too, to give it a more extreme kind of look. It's also kind of a funny angle we're working with here, where she's closest to the camera, so her head's pretty giant. Alright, so then his foot will go that way. Her caper is going to go this way too. Supergiant? I'm sorry, I don't get that reference. Oh, her head, yeah, yeah. No, her head's big to begin with too. And if you look at the sprite animation, it's like over. It's probably more than half her body. But you look at like a Zelda sprite sheet too. Link's head is over his. If you break down the pixels, it's way bigger than the rest of his torso. And it's top down, so I think they get away with it. Plus, there's just such a limited sprite sheet with the original Nintendo, or even Super Nintendo. So I'm going to clean this up, brush 4. All right. We did the Pixel. Actually, this music we did for a Pixel web series we made. So we've been sort of on the cusp of doing video game stuff for a while. But this is our first true interactive kind of thing we made. But I grew up on video games, so I naturally decided to animate them. I always wish Voltron did better. That was a fun.
Should've just made it again.
We should have just made it. We started to. And we did even the pixel art in Flash MX. That took some time. Oof. I guess it's not true pixel art, but we made a bunch of tiny vector squares. Let's see here. Get my bearings a little bit. I could show some of you guys some of the sprite sheets we made for Voltron too, if those of you who haven't seen it, which I assure you is plenty of people haven't seen it. Do you guys get involved in the Universal Studios game competition a while back? No, I don't think so.
Talking about that, but no, we didn't.
We never got involved in that. No. Is it to make a game in a certain amount of time, or does it have to do with Universal Studios properties?
No, I think,
or?
yeah, I think they were looking for games or something. I forget what it was.
They were looking to make games.
Remember that.
I don't really remember that. No, this is sort of our. Cody, Bob, and myself were all roommates a while back, so the writing was sort of on the wall that we wanted to work with each other, and I don't know why we waited till we were all as busy as we could be to do it.
Until we had kids. And...
Oh, it was the best pitch for Universal. I gotcha.
Oh yeah, to make like a from their IPs.
From their IPs.
Yeah.
What is it? Is Jaws?
Yeah, that's probably about it anymore. What does any of this? What did I saw
Jaws,
last night?
Jaws or
Like,
E.T.
it was like 2029 or something when Disney owns everything, and that was like showing the new opening, like the new opening to the movie, playing all of the different studios at once.
What was that?
Fox, it was like Fox Century playing.
Oh yeah.
Like,
No, Disney owns. Disney owns a whole bunch now. No, I'm always. Everything just feels so fast now, too. Like I just figured I'd be like 60 by the time Disney owned everything. They're gonna do it by the time 43. It'll be, Disney and Netflix battling it out until one of them buys the other. Let's see, so we've got this foot here. Alright, so that one's all cleaned up. So what I would do between those two is just animate it. I wouldn't ease in or ease out on any of them. I would just want a very even sort of move for it. And then I would just simply stagger the numbers. So we'd have 3 things, and then I would just, if you could look up on the timeline, I'd grab frame 3, bring it over to 2, 2, bring it over to 3, and vice versa for those last 2. And then you would just get a very kind of strobe-like effect. But if you do it so kind of subtle, like this is a fairly subtle move for action, it won't feel like a strobe. It'll just feel like she hit him so hard that it kind of staggers him as well. I got that. Not be close. And it's a real nice sort of, it's not a cheat because people use staggers all the time, but it's a real nice way to sort of get a lot more impact out of a very few amount of drawings. I've seen people do. You'll see a lot of people do it with just 3 drawings too, and just stagger those, or just repeat it real quick. So we got that. Disney buys Netflix. I'm done with it. Well, yeah, it'll be a while, but now that they both have streaming services, we're in for some interesting times, I think. So let's see. We're gonna build out this. I'm gonna time that different, so it's a harder hit. Oh, thank you. No, this style's so cartoony. You can it's almost hard to do a drawing that doesn't look right almost with this, because you can see her head shape from there to there. I mean, you couldn't get more. It anatomically speaking, it doesn't really make sense. But as an animator, I just sort of focus on the motion. You have to be aware of anatomy and all that stuff, but just sort of volume and movement is sort of where I think I feel like more animators should start doing that personally. Like, we're very focused on characters' design now, and I understand when you have to send stuff overseas that you have to do that, but you just lose some life when it's just so rigid. So I'm going to work on Becky starting to tackle here. So I move this frame over closer to this so it feels like a faster impact. So it'll almost be a blur frame. And in fact, I might treat it like that. So I'm going to put the vampire on another layer. Don't need to worry about him. Let's see. So she tackles him like that. I'm going to put that up here. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Not even going to really use it for a rough. So he's there. Get my red line out. Let's see. So I'm going to favor her antic right here, so it's even more impactful. So I'll stretch out her head a little bit. The force of her head's going to go this way. She's closing her eyes. We got the nose here, we got the mouth. Stretch out the ear. Her hair is going to be pushed back the other way for secondary. Her buns always kind of are late to the party. They kind of show up to wherever the action was. Just going to push off with her leg here. Let's see. So we're going to push off with her arm. Cape's gonna follow suit too. And the cape, since she kind of flips it back that way, that's still gonna be in the air and coming down in this frame. So we're gonna actually overshoot it there. Now if I did a straight in between, and a lot of sort of, it's easy to sort of get wrapped up into an in between. If I have 2 lines, the in between right there, right in the middle here. But as you get a little bit more experience and stuff, you kind of see things not as just 2 lines, like that's the cape line and that's the cape line, but I'm following the motion of the cape going up, flipping up, and moving down. And you can see if you watch the cape in this, you'll see it kind of has this nice arc path going. So it goes, when I started the cape turning here, when she's jumping, so the cape's going like that. It's arcing around all the way up. Starts flipping that way. reaches its apex and then turns this way. So now we got that. Then it's gonna fall down here, so you get this sort of nice secondary. It's a nice sort of because right now we're just meeting Becky for the first time, and she's in this like kind of cowl and stuff. So now we finally see that she means action too. So it's kind of a reveal. Capes and hair are always a nice sort of animation thing to get more out of the subtle motion too. Kind of like the difference between walk cycle and run cycle. Oh yeah, no, we did you see our sprite sheet? Do we have a sprite sheet that we could show?
It's probably on
Is it on our Twitch or?
No, but I don't
Here.
follow on Twitter maybe.
Oh, on Twitter?
Somewhere.
I'll open up the sprite sheet actually. It's all done in Flash.
Oh, yeah.
So character, and this is the sprite sheet. Becky. You can see all our characters. We're starting to build up here. So all this has all the animation in it, and we've got idles, walk, run. And the difference between the walk and the run. Now her cape's still on here. But you can see there's a little bit of more urgency. Still have to finish the dodge up here. Got 3 of them. Got the jump rolls. Got her getting hit at every angle. Electrocuted. Her death. Her surprised. Her if she's going to lift something. Pulling out the phone. And these are all the attacks. Every angle of the attacks and all the combos. So with the, not the problem, but one of the more laborious things you can do with these top-down adventures like this is we have to worry about every angle that she attacks. So we have that swipe and it returns to idle if you let go of the button. And then you have to also be conscious of, like, if I hit the attack frame really quick, then she does this second attack, which is there, then a third attack, and a fourth attack. And of course, because we're torturing ourselves, we're adding more attacks every time you get a little better. So she'll have kicks, and then we have her attacking with her field hockey stick. And she moves on later. So we'll get there. But you can see just the amount just for this one character. Now multiply that by all the characters we have. She's the... Obviously the most animation is going to go into the main character, but, you know, we have a lot of sprites that we have to worry about. Including all the enemies, you know, we have ton, you know, I don't want it to feel one note and just there's a few enemies. We kind of want, you know, and it's not... It's mostly vampiric stuff, so we got rats and bats and stuff, but we got, you know, different stages of the vampires too that we're working on, like including like baby vampires all the way to the bosses. All right, so let me clean this one. Oh, I forgot her arm.
I do better than rats and bats. I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, there we. There's these people everywhere you go with these people, you know, critics and stuff of our game. But we were at MagFest, and
I think it was one of the first people.
it was one of the first
first
person to play the game, and the version of the game we presented at MagFest was about 20 to 30 minutes of the school where it had I think 4 different villains, maybe 3. And initially it's just rats and bats. And the guy got frustrated in the middle of it. He couldn't figure something out. And but he was playing it for a while and he looked fairly engaged, and he just handed us the controller at the end and he said, you're gonna have to do better than rats and bats, dog, or something, and just ran off like, before we could even explain that, like, he was one room away from a new villain. But it was just funny. It's one of those, it was very, we get a lot of that kind of behavior.
What are we in for this weekend?
No, it was just like the first thing, it's like, I thought because, you know, we got animation critics for most of our stuff too, and everyone kind of giving us unsolicited advice of how we should run our studio on YouTube and all that stuff. And then this guy comes along and is like, oh, we got the same exact kind of clientele here. But then the rest of the people played and thoroughly enjoyed it, so. And maybe because I'm just a masochist or whatever you call him, but I just remember that guy. Like, I remember his criticism very vividly. And all the praise I sort of, all the praise was great, but I don't have a specific praise that I remember, like, verbatim. So we got that. Kind of want to be wary of any tangents. I don't want to really run the eye off the skull in this particular one. If it's a profile, it's a different story. Got that. We can do some shadow in the hair here.
Everywhere you look.
No, it's true. It was a fun experience, though. We do an occasional film festival that we sponsor, but it's just, 2 hours on a Friday night. So it was interesting being at a game convention that lasted a few days and getting to really be invested in what people thought about Blood or just the game in general. Plus, the film festival is a lot smaller than, say, a MagFest. That we sponsor anyway. And we're showing off Blood at our film festival this year. If any people are in New York and want to stop by.
I think we're showing it at.
And we're showing it at AwesomeCon too. That's Andrew's going to show it.
Andrew's showing it off there, yeah.
And when is that?
I think it's next week, actually.
Oh, next week. We're showing it up next week too. Let's see here. All right. So you can see for the majority of the time she doesn't have a nose. Just when you start getting close up. Wrong color. So I kind of favor her side to the in-betweens and then just build into that. So the impact will be great if it's this quick. And I'll probably do another in-between from there to there, but first we're going to need the vampire. Now I'm not sure if I want to kind of do this giant ease out like he's screaming at her and then she starts tackling, so I actually might do that because I want to be very careful of just whenever she acts, he acts. Hi, new subscriber. Thanks for joining us, and welcome. So what he'll do is a sort of a giant ease out. Now, you'll see that his body's cut off here, and then shows up there. And the reason for that is because in the background we made, you can see he comes in and then he kind of comes into the camera, so we don't have his feet. But when I start in-betweening, because his feet are planted technically now, so during the camera move, we're going to have to be mindful of how he gets from there to there. So what he does, so I got that camera move, so the camera's coming down. He's also coming down because he did this giant uppercut. So what happens when he goes down there? Now, again, what I would be cautious of when you just sort of blindly in between is I have to know that he's coming down still. Even though his head is technically here, I have to be conscious of the camera going down. So what happens here, and that arm comes down. So we're going to have to kind of follow through with the motion for this the settle here. So what we would do, and I kind of like the scream, so I might actually adjust his body His body would just be a normal sort of in between on this one, but I might make his jaw a little bigger, like he's continuing to scream, and it would be nice, sort of secondary too. And they can unhinge their jaws and all that stuff. So.
Blade 2, they do a lot.
Blade 2. We're taking all tropes, except from True Blood. I can't see us doing much of that. No, I don't know. I didn't watch.
Or Twilight.
No Twilight. Oh, you know what? Maybe we should make them sparkle in the sun. Joking. No Twilight. I forgot. That's how fast I forgot Twilight was a thing, and it was such a big. It was such a big thing for so long, and now it's just like, what happened to it? It just. Things go so fast nowadays. It's kind of frightening. Oh, I was thinking about I was thinking about like the ice bucket challenge. I was like, that was such a big thing, and it's like, there's people we have to explain that to now. I just don't like that was not aware, but it just felt like this thing that just took over the world, and then just 3 weeks later it's gone. Or like something like Chewbacca Mom, or just these weird little pockets of things that were so big and then gone. So you can see here his jaw gets bigger, but
cameo of someone sparkling in the sun. That's a good job. I'm sure Greg will probably write that in.
No.
You gotta talk to Greg on that one.
Gregory.
It's a good joke, though. I'm sure we're gonna have.
Well,
we're gonna do a lot of pop culture.
I feel like it's, you know, instead of hiding from the idea that we're coming up with something wildly original, we kind of we're influenced by all these kind of cinema and things, and Blade and vampire lore and stuff. It's so like we're gonna pay an homage to that. I feel like it's not, we're not claiming any of this stuff as, vampire stories not terribly original, but our take on it will be, a little bit of lore from everything that we get excited about that involves vampires. So we'll take some Blade stuff and maybe add a joke in about that, or, like we're paying an homage to Zelda on some levels too, because well, it's a fantastic game, but that's just sort of the genre we picked for this game too. So it's not
just kind of making what we like.
We just want to take a little bit of everything from what we like and kind of incorporate it into a game. And, this is a cartoon style that we enjoy. We're not claiming that this is even our style necessarily. I mean, I enjoy it a lot, but there's people who've done this style and way better than us too. But we're, I look at it as an homage and not like we're claiming this to be anything but an homage. So we got that. See, these go a lot quicker when they're smaller characters too. That's why the sprites, we cruise through the sprites. And in fact, the sprites, we use a way thicker brush too, and zoom in a lot more. Yes, we do the music in-house. Actually, Bob's in charge of all that. This music is in part... Wait, is this still part of Voltron? Yeah. This was all originally Bob's music as well. For a web series we did called Voltron Ultimate. Originally it was called Voltron Ninja Massacre. And then we sold the rights to Spin Master to make a web series. Now it's Voltron Ultimate. Oh, Bob could do a music session once.
Got a chance to make music in a while.
Yeah. What would we need practicality-wise? Could you do it on the computer?
Like being rated, I don't know what that even means on Twitch anymore. That's how old we are.
Raid. Oh, raid cookie. I don't know what that means. Yeah, Bob can show you the process though. It's pretty interesting. Because I have, it's magic to me because I just watch Bob do his thing, and then all of a sudden we have a song. 45 minutes later. So he's kind of screaming. We can have some spit coming out. I do all that kind of debris stuff last, though. Oh, another subscriber. Oh, boy. Thanks. Thanks for joining. And welcome to Drawing Blood. Excuse me. Alright, so his mouth is going to start closing here. I might actually have it snap back like he does it quick, but I'm going to just rough that out real quick to see if that even looks right. So I'm just going to see if that looks good. No, it's better. I think it's better to kind of unhinge it slowly after seeing that.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Lily White. That's
What's that?
that raid is one. That's how old we are.
Someone ends their stream and brings their viewers.
viewers.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know what that meant. Thank you, Lilybite. That's very nice. We appreciate that. I did not know that Lilybite. That's cool. Also Lilybite. Oh, well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. And if you want to put your... Can people sign up to your stream from here, too? I don't know how to do it. Your animation is incredible. I really enjoy it. Oh, thanks so much. We appreciate that. And thanks for joining us. You know, when we first started this, I wasn't sure how entertaining watching a middle-aged man fumble around a computer would be, but we do appreciate it, and you know, it makes us think we're doing the right thing by making Blood the game, or even running an animation studio. It's just us two, but we haven't run it into the ground yet, so that'll be a special Twitch. So it goes like that. Yeah, I like that. Oh wow, she really helped us out. Look at that. Do you know how to? I don't know how to.
Lily White's following us now, and
Well, game dev is usually programming brain. Yeah, no, I'm excited that people, you know, want to see the process. I feel like I wish more companies would kind of show an inside look to it. I feel like you know that people seem to like behind the scenes stuff a lot, and I don't know why more game companies or animation companies. It seems to be more of an indie thing, but like why bigger things don't sort of show the culture behind making something. I feel like it would help in every which way, like. Because a lot of critics are quick to judge, too. Like, oh, this game sucks or something, you know. But they're not kind of seeing a face to the people behind it and the hours that it took to make. Or I think it'd give a newfound appreciation if everyone saw behind the scenes of how art is made. People wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it. I would think. Or it could go the other way. I just... kind of hope that it wouldn't, but no, the reason we sponsor a film festival is it gives us an opportunity to chat to other animators, because I feel like
it's the only place that'll play our films. So.
And it's the only when you pay for the film festival, they can't say no to your films, so that's nice too. We've gotten our fair share of no's. In pitching, and I mean, pitching, we're really batting 0.
So we got to just make it.
So we had to make it ourselves. We started with Blood as a pitch. No one wanted it, so we're like, all right, we'll make it. That's what we do with all our pitches. If you guys charge separately for the design for animation, would that be covered under the day rate? Design's usually all encompassed embedded with your charges and stuff. And you can break it down as a line item if you want to do it that way. But it's usually under the heading of under everything too, so it's never really separate. And usually the designs are provided for us too. Sometimes we have to simplify our designs to make it animatable. As Drake says, started from the bottom now. Yeah, we're still in the bottom.
We're still.
Did Drake make that song? He started at the bottom and we're still here?
And then made it one rung up the ladder. Don't forget to save your file. No, you see, you don't even see us. We're playing in the old program. You don't see it saved.
You don't see, MX doesn't have the,
Save time says.
yeah, I'll show you. It's saved. I just saved it right there. Just hit Control S. No, I've worked on something yesterday that I hit save and it crashed on me in Adobe Animate. I didn't know what I was supposed to do to avoid that, but. And, you know, I've had my fair share of sitting on the phone and, let's say, gave a stern phone call to Adobe to explain what's going on, and their answer to everything is like, well, did he update? To which we say, not necessarily, but why was it a problem to begin with? No, Adobe just, I'm not a fan of what they did from what I hear about Photoshop either. I just feel like every old timer says this stuff.
I think we're gonna have to start learning a little.
No, we're gonna have to learn how to.
Some Toon Boom.
Toon Boom, yeah, I see some good
Shigeru's
stuff. Oh yeah, that was fantastic. I feel like everyone of a certain age says that about the new stuff. But I really tried to like Adobe Animate. I didn't even mind CS3. I worked in CS3 a lot. I forgot it is. Let's see here. Forgot his. And another, not to pile on Adobe, they get enough of that when the cameras are off. The undos are kind of wonky in that too, I found.
Oh yeah, somebody was talking about Blender last week too.
What is Blender? Is that a 3D program?
I think it's both.
You can do both, or can you draw on it? I'd assume if you can animate in it.
Well, they fixed the undo process. We haven't updated in a while.
I haven't updated in a bit. But I noticed because we have a bunch of computers here, and I noticed on my office computer at home that I have a different version, and the undos are different than there. So, I just worried about updating for a few reasons, I guess. So let's see here. Now what I'll do, I'm just going to copy this. This is all embedded within a symbol. I'll replace the symbol here. I'll see if this camera move works. Yeah. So you see, then when she tackles, it's going to be action lines and stuff. But you can see kind of he stomps down, his arm keeps going down. The punching arm, there's some backlash to it, bounces back. So that was now when I in between that finally, I'm gonna have to be super conscious of where the camera is. So what I might do is actually double click, which I never really recommend doing, but I'll actually double click on this one per frame while I'm animating that to this version right here, just so I can kind of track his feet.
You can only do that.
Yes. What is this? I'm afraid to click on anything when I'll shut down, but Bob can do it. What's this YouTube thing?
Oh, this is
this is Blender? Oh, that looks cool. Oh yeah, that's nice. Oh, I saw this. I saw this a while. This was featured on Cartoon Brew. Yeah, so that tackle's gonna work. So now I'll go back here, And that's how I'm going to start dividing up the scenes when I get this. What I should be doing is establishing the background first, but we're working very manic in all this, which, when we start working full time on it, if we ever get the opportunity, we're going to have to really reassess how we're setting these things up from file allegation to everything, because these sprites are getting out of hand and all that stuff. So we're going to have a meeting of the five guys and get our priorities straight. Because working on it 2 hours a week, I'm already lost. Alright, so at this point, it's a whole different background. So when I'll use these action lines, it's almost a match cut. So we'll do kind of action lines going in one direction. Don't we just save it on your desktop?
Yeah, God.
Cody makes fun of my desktop,
Well,
and I'm going to show it to everyone.
No, I don't know about that. That thing is real.
Is that so bad?
Rancid.
With it, I mean,
I've seen.
Maybe because my house with my kids, there's toys on 100% of the floor, but having 66% of my desktop open seems pretty nice.
It's retro.
It is retro.
It's retro.
So what I'm going to do here is start separating these kind of guys. So what I will do, since the vampire at this point almost acts as a background, because I'm going to have to separate the characters. So I will separate him first in a drawing. Keep in mind that Becky's there. Now she rolls and jumps and another guy comes in. So this is going to take some symbol allocation. I love how that comes from Cody, and if you check out Cody's office, there's just piles of Nintendo games that he's going to pass away in an avalanche
His
of.
desktop is cleaner than a...
He died doing what he loved. Ultimately, it was the 14th duck hunt that severed his spine. Okay, so I'm going to just rough out the vampire at this point. Going to have the... So I'm going to draw through knowing all that stuff. And we're just going to focus on his action right now. But then Becky will kind of animate to that. A lot of these fight kind of things, and we've done our fair share of fight animations. I mean, I think more than any other things. Starting with our first short we ever made was a short called Coin, which is just a 3-minute and 45-second fight. I was separating. It was funny. We were animating it almost as if it was a game, though that was never the intention until we started after the boards. And we're like, let's just make it look like Double Dragon. We've been doing video game stuff since 6 years ago. So, again, it's going to be 400%. So it's good. The line's going to look a lot thicker on these characters the shorter they go, but that's sort of this 1990-ish or early 2000 kind of style. It was almost defined by this line weight. A lot of it was thicker than the newer generation of stuff. And I think that's going to come through because a lot of people are saying, oh, this reminds me of an old Cartoon Network animation. So yeah, it's really thought about, but the line weight is an important factor in cartoons, I find. And in efficiency, too. If you have a thinner line, it's gonna you'll have to zoom in a little more, which is going to add to your time. And if you have no holding lines, and if it's a vector program like a Flash or Adobe Animate, you can get away with a lot more because the power to zoom in is not going to affect the line. So you kind of, when we're studying these styles and stuff, we're very mindful of how they would have approached it from that time period.
style is going to definitely help make sales.
I hope so, because
Like everything else we do.
you know, yeah, I just hope so. I hope you're right about that. You know, we saw the success of Cuphead. You know, but what's on my pen nib here? And I was surprised that people like. I mean, I know graphics always matter. It's silly to think that's not a case, but I didn't think it like the success of Cuphead. I feel like is a lot of it's due to them nailing that 1930s Repro style. Now, if you break it down, then you're like a reductionist. It's like, well, it's just sort of a, you know, it's almost like a Metal Slugs kind of game, or a Contra where you just run and gun. And that's if you're going to reduce something down to that level. But like the style sort of defined it as something different, and that's sort of what we want to approach this to be. You know, there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of kind of top-down adventures, and what's going to define ours. Hopefully, the game mechanics and the graphics and all that stuff. But initially, I think that the graphics are going to make ours stand out as at least something different. I'm hoping. And it's great. We're kind of living in an age where, you know, video games are just part of the culture now, and they might as well reflect part of the culture of animation too. It's a fun time to be in our field. I feel like because there's just opportunities to sort of, you know, as a small animation studio, there was a lot of thought about how we're gonna make ends meet and stuff, and we've managed to sort of just take up these little jobs and stuff, and you know, thanks to the internet and all that, you know, all the advancements and that kind of stuff, because we can run a studio from the east end of Long Island, where 20 years ago we would have to be either in the city or LA. And that's sort of where the two places kind of merged, and now there's animation studios everywhere. So let's see here. So I'm still going to separate.
Cody's programming is not going to be selling it, that's for sure.
Definitely ain't going to be the first selling. Okay. Cody, you're undermining Andrew. Plus lots of people that will buy your game will probably don't. Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't have a giant YouTube, what's it called, audience at all. But I'm hoping, you know, I'm hoping animation fans and game fans kind of unite to enjoy your game. I hope they're still interested by the time it comes out. All right. So let's see. What's that? So his leg's going up because of the impact. We're going to flatline him here. So what's happening is he's landing on his back. His back's going to hit the ground. The back leg here is going to shoot up that way, just out of inertia. This arm's going to hit the ground, because out of inertia again. And sort of everything's going to kind of mushroom out from that. Oh, this was the end of Voltron. That song, the song you hear now, is the last song in the series.
I can't get such smooth lines, and your first rough exploration is almost always the final one.
Well, I'm very familiar with these characters too. If there's a new style that I'm starting with, I struggle. I do a lot of roughs with the newer styles and stuff like that too. These cartoonier ones are just kind of more natural to myself too. So, and I have been animating for upwards of 20 years now too. So I got some muscle memory built up. But I know that for my roughs, I try to go very, like, I use a thicker brush. You see, this is like a, what is this? This is brush 4. That's what I clean up with, too. like for the broader strokes like that, and I just press very lightly. I know you said Flash on excels, but curves like that only come with XP. Oh, experience. Perhaps. I do think MX helps a lot too. So, it's hard. I fumble around and animate a lot. It could also be that it's the project I was working on. No, but you get a little more confident as you get more experience too in animation. Like, you also have to realize that some in-betweens, it's just, that's what it is. It's on for a fraction of a second. So I try not to really think about my in-betweens all that much. I'm a little more invested in the extremes and all that stuff, but like if I do a settle, I won't even rough it out at some points. I'll just kind of wing it. Your animation is awesome. I'd like to know how you started and what was the basic drawing and animation skills you had at first. Well, I think I was pretty bad at first with drawing. My first job, paid job, was I went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. I studied animation, traditional animation. My first job I got, I think I was a third-year student. I was an intern at this place that formerly, well, the place is closed now, both of the versions of it, but it was called Noodle Soup at the time. And this show called The Venture Brothers. We were doing the pilot there. And I started with some basic animation on that. And that was all hand-drawn on paper. But then they brought it into Flash and made it, it was a real arduous kind of thing. We would clean it up with, ink on paper. Someone would scan it and then vectorize it, make it I forget what not a GIF or something, but they would do something and bring it into Flash and optimize it and all that stuff. And then they would take it, then they would puppet it in Flash, and we were doing all that with we were drawing, then someone was inking, then someone was scanning, then someone would take it into Flash and make it symbols and all that stuff. I remember seeing it seemed crazy at the time. Well, it seems crazy now. All Cintiqs weren't around. No, it was the Wacom things that that was by you wouldn't even see what you were drawing. But anyway, it was this show called Venture Brothers, and they eventually started paying me to animate on the show. It was only between classes and stuff, so I never got paid great on it or any of that stuff, but that was my first job, and that was in 2000. I want to say 2000. I think it was 2000 I did that.
Oh, you were second year or something?
It was second year that I finally got. I mean, it was. I say paid, but it was not very well. But I've only put in a couple hours a week. But my first full-time job was this show called Shorties Watching Shorties, and that was purely Flash-based. So I learned how to kind of cope with drawing on a screen while learning Flash, while animating in it too. And from there, I just built up kind of my knowledge of Flash and stuff. Which Flash you could learn in probably a half a day. It's really, F6, F7, and F8 are really the only two things you need to know, or three things you need to know, and the rest is sort of just a happy accident. Okay, so have to keep in mind that that's happening here. So I want this to really feel impactful, so I might make this a little quicker. We'll have her flip. So what's going to happen here, then she flips off and another guy comes and lands. So I'm going to have his leg land before that, I think. So what we'll do is continue. This arm, the arm closest to us, right here, is going to keep going this way, because he's sort of rolling in the dirt now. This is almost more straight ahead. So I'm going to do some roughs here to show you my rough process. This might go up a little more. This one could start bouncing back. That arm's flat now. That pops down. Kind of goes that. This head kind of can bounce back up, maybe. Yeah. Okay, no. So I'll have his back almost arch a little bit like he's bouncing. We'll keep the arm down. So I'm just gonna take this and just move this part over here. Just gonna move all these so I don't have to see it, just to concentrate on him. So what I might want to do is push him up a little more and actually arch the back a little more. So I'm gonna arch the back like this. I think the hand's gonna go down all the way now. Tip, on your Twitch page you should have links to your Facebook studio. I don't know how to do it. Do you know how to do any of that, Bob? Oh, no, so let's see. You guys are feeling to set up a donation button. Oh, I have this weird, I feel weird about taking donations from fans. I just feel like unworthy for taking it. Like I'm a big proponent on who we're taking money from. When we were working with Nike, I have zero problem with it. Where I just feel like people, not to say, I would be super flattered if someone wanted to pay, but I feel like if we eventually make this game and you guys pay for that, I feel like that's sort of where I'm comfortable with. I don't know. I'll talk to the guys. They might be like, "Shut up, Chris," right now. But no, I do want to set up our Facebook page and stuff like that. I think that's a great idea.
I think we try to do it. I think you have to add something.
Yeah, don't you have to be a
add
sponsor?
like a plug-in or something.
Okay. Oh, to Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I like the thought of it. It feels weird for me to take, I don't know, money from just people who either want to learn this trade or just be invested in just the art of our show. I have mixed thoughts on it, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna kick it to that. Then, since that leg goes up, it's gonna come right back down. And she kind of jumps off this thing too in the rough that I did of her. So that'll be nice kind of thing to do. Maybe his arm could bounce back up, sort of thing. So then when we see it with the camera move too, I think that'll look nice. But the bounce has to happen a little quicker, I think. Then you add some dust. I think we'll keep that timing. Maybe speed it up a little bit. So I'll just start cleaning that one up. Now this one might require another rough pass. Let me just eye it for a little bit. Most artists do not do. Well, it's weird. If this was our sole kind of job, we would be. It'd be contingent on if we had a big enough fan base to even support that and stuff. But and I don't fault people for doing it at all. I think I love the idea that people can make a living off Twitch and all that stuff. no matter what you're doing. Anyone who can make a buck and do it on their own, I'm very impressed with. No, it just, for something that we're eventually going to try to sell anyway, it just feels... I have a weird thing with, like, Kickstarter for animation for the same reason, almost. Not so much games. I get games because you get something at the end, but for animation, there's a few Kickstarters out there. I have a strange thing about it, I guess.
It's crazy that 19,000 people are watching one dude play a video game, but not watching making.
No, well...
Or it's just, I guess
No, I mean, I get it. It's like, if I was a kid, too, like... Yeah, it is. It's nuts to me. Especially... the idea... Like, I like watching people play video games when I was young, too, and, like, when Cody and Bob and I all lived together, I used to watch and make fun of Cody play video games too. So I get that part. It's weird to me that I was so wanting to play video games at that age.
They can make money off of
it's a little strange making it.
If you want to just sit and play, and that's fine, but making money off of it seems...
It's tough. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, to be honest, because I get the game companies like it. It's like it's free advertising and stuff for their games. And I don't know, though we were talking to a person at Netflix that oh my god, I'm at 800%. And he was telling us, like, because I'm always curious why YouTube is what it is now too, like this giant kind of thing for a bunch of kids, and I find it strange. It's like, what do they want? They're watching kids unpack, and they're watching, there's toys being unpacked, and then there's people just playing video games, and there's people watching people play video games, and it goes down the line. And we were talking to him, and he sort of said something that made sense, and he's like, there's no entertainment being made for a certain age group. And when he broke it down like that, it made a lot of sense. I was like, oh yeah, there's no real, like, channel for kids of a certain age, which there's plenty of, I mean, there, a lot of, like, Nickelodeon thinks it's for, kids 6 to 11 or something, but there's no 12-year-old guy that's watching whatever they have on. I don't even know anymore, but so they gravitate towards YouTube, and when there's a vacuum like that, there's naturally going to be people who make a living doing that. No, that's sort of the forgotten... I feel like we're going to look back and it's like that's going to be the forgotten age group or something. Because there used to be stuff, I feel like, right? Before cartoons got so politicized or something. Not politicized, it just got too soft around the edges. No, it'd be nice to kind of bounce back a little bit. Whoop, wrong color. So, like I said, I'm going to add debris and all this stuff last, because all our debris tends to disappear, like whether it be smoke or just little dirt pebbles and all that stuff. We kind of don't pay attention to it until the end. So she jumps off.
Air Razor. Oh, thanks for joining us, Air Razor.
Already got to fix it. Oh, okay, you got to fix your... Yeah. No, we have to fix ours, too. But thanks for joining us. We appreciate the conversation, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of time out Becky here. That's useless. So I kind of changed some of the timing here, but that's okay. Alright, let's turn that on. So I've got to do sort of like an ease out. His back keeps going up here because he really hit the ground hard, but his foot's coming down. And by the time this next guy comes and gets stomped on, he might be in a different position. So I'll kind of rough out this one to this point right here, then focus on the rest of the motion. Just so, because if I keep doing this guy, it's gonna mess up the timing, I think, for what Becky has to do. So I'm gonna kind of jump ship and do Becky next. So I'm gonna like that. Alright, so the light is coming down that way. Let's see what his arm's doing. So I'll keep pulling the arm that way, just to give it a little more oomph. And you know, when we add smoke, he'll get smoke, so it lands. So I'm just going to do a rough smoke pass here. Now the background's going this way, so whatever hits the ground first, the smoke's going to trail off that way. And we could... And I always sort of do smoke and stuff like that kind of straight ahead. I think a lot of effects animation is straight ahead almost, because it's just so manic to worry about it if you were just focusing on in-betweens. So you kind of do these really big broad motions. Let's see, it's going to billow out this way, so. Just subbed yesterday and bring a few Twitch episodes while pumping characters for a show I work for. Love the stuff you're doing in Wendy. Oh, well, yeah, anytime. And if any of you guys have any questions about it doesn't have to be about blood animation. Any tips you guys want to hear from us about and stuff, let us know. We can do a little tutorial real quick, show you how we might approach things of that nature. Hopefully it's useful. With it's hard with two guys. I don't know, like maybe a bigger company has tips, but like we try to do things as efficient as we can. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. And, yeah, check us out. We also put these on YouTube, too, if you guys ever miss a thing. Though we can't answer anything live on YouTube. Alright, so that feels pretty impactful. So, the smoke, just going to put up here and ignore that for now. Alright, let's get this last vampire cleaned up. So you can see the hand hits the ground. It's following through, then it bounces back up. And you always have to keep in mind what's going on in the animation. I know that sounds super general, but it's just something, I feel like, you know, the little details like that just bring animation to another level. And I think actually when you get to start puppeting animation, you learn like those sort of tricks, like secondary, because it's so easy to adjust stuff that that's why I'm a kind of a proponent on learning how to animate with Flash and all that stuff. It's kind of a creative way to learn quickly. I would never want to do blood as a puppeting animation though, just because I don't think it would look as good as if it were done traditionally.
Oh, you're the one person that saw Flex Calendar.
Found Flex Calendar trailer while surfing.
We could show
I could show you some flash files of Flex Calibur. Would you be interested in seeing them now? Did you just see the trailer?
Well, I guess it's the pilot, probably.
Oh, the pilot. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have a trailer, did we?
No.
Yeah, I'll show you. Is there any scene in particular that you want?
I don't even remember what they are.
I'd have to search for it, but
They're crazy looking.
they're wild looking. That was a very different And if anyone's offended by curses or violence, you know, that flex might not be for you. I think it's... Alright, let's see which file. Let me just color this real quick and then I'll open that up. Let's see, what's a good scene? You think the first shot has a lot... The first shot has a lot of... Not the... Oh.
Everything was so sloppy on that.
I mean, the intro song has a lot of stuff. The intro, this is just... oh, I'm going to open up something. It has some nudity in it and it has some curses. So if anyone gets offended by that or is of a certain age that could be offended by that, this is your heads up. Oh, let's see. Where did I even put flex? Flex caliber? Sure. Animation. Now is it intro song, I'm guessing? Intro song final done too. Alright, I'm gonna try this one. Okay, so this is pre-compositing. I don't know if I should just turn off the song. It's so offensive. Okay, it's low enough. Okay, so what we got here... Yeah. So I'm just showing you guys the animation first, and then I'll break down some of the scenes. It's the same principle I'm doing with blood. You know, everything on the same chart. Everything sort of moving. Alright. So, something like, let's see here. I'm going to show you these scenes where he's turning. So, I can go frame by frame for a little bit. So, that's the shine. That's an effects layer, but I do that on the same chart. So what I got here is just embedded kind of animation for the hand. And what I did with this one was just I took my hand, I took a picture of my hand and traced it, and then just kind of animated it. That's why, like, this hand looks weird, that hand looks weird, but like once I settled it, it was fine. So that's all traditional. Then the camera moves, turns into here. Go frame by frame. Flex starts coming in. Then you can see sort of it's just follow through, and I treated that like his hair or the vest. Just follow through with the hand and vest, and then did the same exact chart for the backgrounds. So this is the background, you see. I'm gonna turn off the music right now. So I did secondary on the covers. This is all just shape tween stuff. This I just made sure it was on the same chart. Just animated each of those guys. Then for the quick camera moves, and there's a lot of this in the project I'm working on now. You see I kind of just in between the background. You'll notice, like, you could spend a lot of time worrying about the angles and all this stuff, but if you just set up 3 different shots and want to get to them, just make sure wherever your eye is, only worry about that, because you can see this just pans off the characters right there. The ground changes, and then we're into a settle already, you know, so it doesn't, if you just look at these, I'm not even happy with some of the in-betweens, you know. Then we change the style there. So this character is just that, and this must be panned in, so that, okay, there's a few embedded things. So this is how we'd set up something like this. all that the shadows are down here. Don't need to. So we'd separate like all this kind of that's just debris. But then when we start talking or doing something, we'll separate the head and the body and stuff. And you can see like it's sort of all crudely done like that, and this is why I'm a big proponent on just it's not about model, it's not about hey his nose is missing here, why is the color of his he doesn't have a mullet in this shot. It's just what makes the shot look good, and it's this weird intangible thing. Now you could look at some of these in-betweens and then it's like that doesn't make sense between these two, but you mesh it together and then all of a sudden it's fine, you know. Animation is just the study of movement. It's not the study of characters or design or color. It's just where's your eye? What are you doing to the shot to make it look where you want the audience to look? That kind of stuff. You think of it as a whole. This whole thing, you're trying to get an idea out. Not necessarily, I'm not worried about what people think of the drawings even really. I'm just thinking about the story. Is everything centered? Like, what are we supposed to be looking at? Make sure there's no tangents. You see there's a bunch of characters here, but none of them are touching each other. He's never in front of the label. Everything's on the same chart. And then you get this sort of organism at the end that's all just this living, breathing film. And the thing with any of that makes sense. Go from one frame to another. No, well, it just, this was a passion project just like Blood, so we just made this without any worry about what, we worried about what people thought about it, and we wanted to sell it. But we just wanted to make a fun cartoon with this, so I wasn't going to focus on worrying about characters or anything like that, or character design. And I think, with stuff like Flash, we get really caught up with like breaking down the layers when we don't need to. Design is this guy off model and on model because we have the luxury of time now because we were given that luxury with this. Now what I'm trying to do is kind of take some of that back, and it's like we don't need to separate the pupils here. All these characters are going to be moving anyway. Let's just keep it all on one layer, focus on the action, and then when we need to separate stuff, we need to separate stuff. So I'm gonna start working on Becky here. I'm gonna put this layer up here. We don't need to worry about that right now. All right. Well, now what's Becky doing? So she's got this guy. So I'm gonna rough out her now. Gonna use the board again as sort of the kind of backbone of what I want the shape to look like. Let's start cleaning her up now. So I know her arm was down here in the previous shot. Her cape can start coming off a little bit. Her other hand was back here, so I'll keep that there. Actually, it's going to start coming off here. The cape. Let's see. Okay, so she does a flip, so she's going to start curling her feet in. Thanks for showing the flex stuff much better. Oh, yeah, no, anytime you have a question, please feel free to ask. And if I'm not explaining it right, just let me know. All right. So let me clean her up here and see if we got this part right. All right. So her arm is going to go in front of her head here. Cape's going to go there. Her body's going to curl up because she's going to kind of using this tackle as a means to do a somersault and then eventually flip off. And we explained in the game why she's so athletic. And we'll kind of... Yeah, that's better. Got that mean kind of scowl on her. Buns are going to be behind her head still. I'm going to have her hand slowly coming off here because we don't want it to land. We don't want him to land on her hand, but it did start here. You can see it there, so it has to start coming off there. Alright, let's color that just so we get to see what's going on here. Whoop, then add her hairline. That's the most missed. I always miss the back of her head line. Constantly doing that. And I always pick simple colors for these main characters, so I'm not spending a lot of time. Like, I try to reuse as much of the same color as I can, so I'm not spending a lot of time hunting and pecking and all that stuff. I'm going to move her up just a tad bit, so break the tangent. Okay, so she rolls down on this part. So we're going to have to, then she springboards up. So we're going to want to plant her hand here to springboard. So you can see in the boards I kind of got rid of her hand, just did a kind of a microphone shape. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we didn't expect that trailer to reach so many people on Twitter. It was very welcomed.
More than we're used to.
It's way more than we're used to. We're used to, 20 likes here and there. We just went about it like any other day, too. Like, yeah, let's post it today. We did not expect such a high view count. We're really excited about it. So she...
doubled our Twitter following.
No, we got 1,000 Twitter followers that we didn't have yesterday. I think a lot of people even on Twitch joined because of it too, which is, again, very flattering. It's this weird world we're in where I don't know who would. It's weird. Maybe I'm just self-loathing or something, whatever you call it. But I just like who would ever be interested in what I'm working on? As I've always had.
When your own wife and kids aren't.
When my family doesn't even like, what are you working on? So it's weird to see that people enjoy just just seeing our progress, because it's something that's very intangible to most people right now. It's just a trailer and a demo, and as anyone who knows a lot about the gaming industry or making that, they take a lot of time to make. So people showing interest in it gave us a lot of kind of renewed energy on what we're going to do to work on it and what we could do to get this thing done and as best as we can. So we're very excited. No, I'm hard pressed to see how we could follow up with something that went as well on Twitter, and it did well. It did pretty well on Facebook and all that stuff too. Though Twitter just seemed to take on a life of its own. That was crazy. Yesterday was really cool. Or the last 2 days, it's just been really cool watching people react to it. Alright, so she's gonna do this. Twitter can be magic. Yeah, no, I agree. It could be scary too, though. Like I'm always. Yeah, I don't know. There's all this. There's no science to what makes things be seen or something on Twitter, and it's weird.
More on Twitter than to me than.
No, I did we have stuff that does really well on Instagram and then falls short on Facebook, and it's the same exact. It's linked to our Facebook page. So it's the same exact thing. So I don't know what that's about. Twitter feels just as sort of random to me. Like I don't know what makes a viral tweet. I don't know what it. I guess that everyone's trying to figure that out, but I'm not saying anything new to anyone. But yeah, that's a fun kind of. I like that pause in the air. So we're gonna have a vampire kind of run in too. Let's see with the smoke. Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, let me clean up this drawing here. Yeah, I'll clean up that one. I'll usually, for something like this one, where she's going to hang in the air for a little bit, I might want to think about cleaning up that one too. That's such a drawing right there, but what does she do? She lands there. Okay, so I'll do the handspring first, I think. So I want to be mindful of the cape again. So the cape will actually almost be down here a little bit more. Okay. Now her hand goes in front here. This hand will go on the other side of the torso, so we don't have to worry about that. She's looking up. So we're gonna have to be mindful of the arc. So the rest of her body is going to have to follow this arc. That's why we had to kind of establish the arc before she lands. I'm going to bend this down a little bit. Kind of like a scissor kick. Erase that. All right, so I think that's a good one to clean up on. All right. Andrew or Cody, if you're still there, do you want to post bloodgame.com so people who are new can sign up for an inside look? Oh yeah, Bob can do it too. Anyone who just joined us today can feel free to sign up to this. It's a mailing list that you'll get exclusive content before we post it on anything else. And we don't spam. We don't. I think we only sent out one mailing list so far, and it was just the trailer. So we're not those kind of annoying mailing lists that will get you clicking unsubscribe real quick. And anything else we want to share, Bob, before we had a few requests about music, so maybe we can do that. Half of one day.
Yeah. Just gonna pick a new Mac.
We're gonna need a new setup.
Mac and
Could you do it at this computer, or could you only do it at that
I already
computer?
need a Mac for-
So we'd have to bring everything up here. Okay, that's not bad. Could draw that better.
Or we just do a live Twitch from my dirty basement.
We could do the basement Twitch, the Basement Brothers,
Where it looks like somebody needs to save me from.
the Splinter Cell. Yeah, our humble beginnings were in Bob's basement, where we had the studio, and when we had people like bigger clients, we never really had to pull that one, but we had it prepared if they had a Skype session that we'd have. It was, it looks like a basement. It, exposed cement walls and all that stuff. So we always had something that we could kind of hang up to make it look like an office. And that's... Now we're above a diner, so things have did a 180, if you know what I mean. No, there's a lot of that fake it till you make it in a lot of this industry. I'm glad we're sort of just at the point where we can show stuff like this. Okay, so how much time? We got 3 minutes here. If anyone has any questions, a quick little tutorial, I could do that. I'm gonna put this in and I'm gonna show you all this with... I have an office. I haven't been there in about a year. No, the thing is, we debated it. We were just like, no, animation gets no foot traffic, so it was silly to. We're on Main Street, but we have one road in this town. So we're like, what are we doing it for? It's just to impress it, but it really was like we noticed the distractions of being in our households was really sort of taking time out of the day. So we did it really, it was worth the paying rent to rent this place, and I feel like we make more money subsequently by having an office. And it hasn't, we still haven't had a client stop by here, though they're welcome if they ever wanted to. But it's been interesting because there's it's just a lot easier to get stuff done and plus I never really liked working where you sleep or where you spend the rest of your day, because I always felt like I either should be working or I shouldn't be working. There was never really any division of when I should stop work. Okay, so let's see if this is all working, if I wasted the day. Okay, so we got some duplication symbols here. What is going on? So that's the smoke. To figure out what's going on here. Alright. Alright, there's one frame off, but we get the idea. And so that's it for now. We have a lot more toiling around. What we did was add some of this background in, which I'm liking a lot. So we could start actually laying out the background. This is all done in Flash too. All the texture and stuff, we just do vector. You can see here, if you really zoom in, what we did to kind of fake a paint texture. And just a lot of gradients and just a lot of paint strokes and that kind of stuff, and you kind of get this painterly feel with the luxury of vector. So we can start laying out that background and getting these characters in here, start adding shadow. And this is all the same background, I just changed the angle here to kind of establish it. And we're gonna slowly chip away at this until, God willing, we finish this thing. And now that we have some more free time, I could start doing this on the side. Let's see, does anyone have any questions before we sign off? We do these for 2 hours every week. Anytime you guys have free time on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, feel free to join us. Tell a friend, sign up, do your thing. We do this because we've had some interest in it and stuff, and it really, we couldn't be more grateful, honestly, for everyone who's tuning in and taking their time to be part of this. And I think it's helping the game come along too, because we're getting a sense of what you guys have to think about it and stuff too. So, but I guess until next time, we will keep plugging away at this and keep in touch and keep those questions coming. We appreciate all you. Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'm glad to. Yeah, we're gonna have extra trailers too soon. I'm thinking we have some extra stuff we want to show in. So we'll start posting that. It'll be on the mailing list and all that stuff. And if you guys are in New York or WonderCon or is that AwesomeCon?
AwesomeCon.
Sorry, there's all these cons. AwesomeCon. Be sure to stop by. Tell Andrew what you think. Make fun of Cody behind his back. That's what we do too. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us, guys.